Alpha.
Hi, I'm Greer from the Sony Centre in Carlisle. I recently caught up with Hannah Couzens to find out what's in her kit bag.
So for me, being a portrait photographer, I tend to have three main lenses that I take with me. I'm actually going to show you everything that I've got in my bag. So let's get it open to begin with. Now, the best thing for me is that all of my kit that I need day to day fits into this one bag. And that's been huge for me because I'm pretty small and most of the time I've been working alone, so to be able to fit everything in one bag and just take it all with me is an absolute godsend. Now, how I've managed to fit all this in, we've got, well, firstly let's start with the camera, the most important part. So this is my A7R4 and this has been absolutely brilliant. I used the R3 before that, which I absolutely loved and I sort of didn't really want to give up, but then obviously you only upgrade if there's an improvement to make. Now, one thing that I've really had fun with recently about this is I used the remote wireless tethering. I was on a job last week in the city and because of the time, social distancing, etc., it was wonderful. I'm not very good at being tethered. I sort of fall over myself. I'm a little bit clumsy. So to be able to just have the freedom to shoot and all my images were just going straight to my laptop, client could look at them as they were coming up and it was perfect. So that was huge. It's taken me, I've owned this camera for quite a while now, but first time I'd actually used that and that was huge. So that's definitely something I'm going to explore again. But this, I mean, the files out of this, the dynamic range, just my portraits, I feel like it just gives it that extra bit. That obviously the resolution speaks for itself, but there's something about the files. There was a huge difference for me where I thought, oh, suddenly this just feels more cinematic. It feels more painterly in my portraits, and yeah, made a huge difference to me. Yeah, it's so tiny. So that is always in the bag for sure. Now lenses, let's go through lenses. So I try to travel as light as possible, but the type of work that I tend to shoot, I'm quite close up. So I'm mainly studio based, but that said, I can pretty much shoot anywhere. So I need to try and sort of cover all bases. So first of all, I'll go with my absolute favourite. So this is my 85mm 1.4 G Master. This is on the front of my camera. I would say 95% of the time I absolutely love this thing. It's so sharp, and the beauty of it as well for me is being that sort of distance away. I find the focal length is perfect because it doesn't distort any features. The true likeness to someone's features is great. But the other thing, the distance between myself and the subject is just awesome because I can communicate with them. We don't feel like we're so far apart, but it's sharp as anything. This thing never lets me down, and so I'm always nervous to take it off of the camera, but I love it. So this is always with me, no question. Now, that said, sometimes I have jobs where I'm on sort of corporate jobs, for example, and I have to sit up in the corner of a boardroom somewhere, and I just don't know what I'm going to get. Sometimes I get a huge room, other times I get a tiny little shoebox. So then I've got my 2470. So I've got 2470 2.8 G Master again. This is great for getting me out of jail if I have those kinds of jobs. So definitely if I'm working on location, this is with me too. The other thing that I really loved about this lens is the fact that it was 2.8. I sort of started to use it outside on location, and it's just fantastic to be able to drop down like that should I need to. Just awesome. So this is definitely a contender to be in the bag too. Now then we've got finally the big guy, 70 to 200 water lens. This is the 2.8 G Master again, and this is just superb shooting outside for me. Just the compression, everything that I could really dream of. It's just a fantastic lens. The flexibility to get multiple compositions by zooming in and out from 70 to 200 as well, absolutely brilliant. In fact, again, we're at 2.8. I can just drop down, get that lovely blurry background, which every client asks for. It's awesome. So what else is in here? Right, so now let's go on to the lighting. Most of the time, well, I'm always shooting ProPhoto, always, but most of the time my sort of go-to lights are the ProPhoto B10s. So these are 250 watt second lights, and generally for the majority of the work that I do, that is absolutely adequate in power. There's no problem there. Occasionally, if I know that I'm shooting abroad, somewhere really sunny, something like that, then I might switch it out for the B10 Plus, which is, again, that's going to be 500 watt seconds. And all that would happen is, where this will fit in that part of the bag, that's just a little bit longer and it goes in here instead. But generally speaking, the majority of the time, these 250 watt second heads are perfect for everything that I do. We can shoot with the sun, we can shoot inside, they're tiny, absolutely brilliant. So of course I need to find a way to trigger those. So I have my Profoto TTL-S, S for Sony. So of course this is Sony compatible on the top. So it just screws onto the top into the hot shoe, triggers the lights remotely and allows me to shoot off camera flash. Again, just very boring, but we've just got a spare battery for the B10s in here as well. So that generally is everything that sits in that compartment. Over here on this side, spare battery for the R4 as well. Boring stuff, but essential nonetheless. Just a kind of memory card wallet that, that's me being sensible. And again, just this is actually just a USB, which is kind of rather large for just a very small kind of USB, but I need someone like me, I need that because I lose everything. So it's just handy to have. Sometimes if I've sort of not got my hard drive with me and I've shot more than I intended to, story of my life, we tend to carry one of those in the bag just to make sure that we've got enough space to back up as well. So a couple of other things that I've got in here too. So I just need to flip the bag over. Let's do the roll folder. On the side here, I have these Manfrotto Nano Pole stands, and these are great for travelling around the city, for example. If I have to jump on the tube and be in and out the whole time, these are pretty lightweight considering. They're perfect if I'm sort of setting up inside, that's wonderful. Outside, I would prefer something a little bit more stable. Occasionally I can hang the bag on it. But the nice thing about this, of course, is that you can just bring the legs down. But I'll see if I can do this without making a complete hash of it. So in here, you can pull out the center. Let's see if I can do that again. So this part here becomes a boom arm. So of course, if I need someone to sort of boom a light overhead or clamp something somewhere, the center column comes out and it acts as both. So they are ideal for that purpose. Right, so let's flip this bag over. And what have I even got in here? I don't even know. So in here, right, yes, of course. So a couple more accessories for the flash here. So I've got, this is a Profoto OCF2 gel holder and grid holder. And most of the time I just try to have some either hold on, I pull them apart. Right, I've got 20-degree grid always. I always put that in just because this allows me to focus the light more. So that can just sit in front of there, completely magnetic. And I also add in some CTO gels, so colour temperature orange gels. So why would you do that? Well, I bring these with me because sometimes, just sometimes, if you are shooting a particular atmosphere or you want to sort of warm up the flash, these can really sort of change the whole atmosphere of it. So CTO gels, I always pop in. I've got a full and a half there. They stack on top of there. And is there anything else in here? Oh yeah, of course. Yes, where would we be without the Manfrotto Super Clamp? Now, this is absolutely ideal. I sometimes hold reflectors in here so I can, unscrew this, put a reflector and clamp it in, pop it on a light stand. I've clamped a million things in here, if I'm honest. It's kind of the sort of thing that it just is so handy to have in the bag. So I highly recommend getting one of these things. I probably shouldn't mention half the things that we've clamped in there, but it works well. And also we've got a Manfrotto snap tilt head bracket. So how this little guy works is we open this part, sit it on top of the light stand, and here we can just screw and adjust, and that can actually hold a speed light or some kind of external flash in here, and you can pop that on top of the light stand. So I always have one of those with me just in case. And finally, I have my laptop, my tiny little laptop. I don't even know how big this is, 12 inch I think it is. And it's tiny. It's not really sort of my go-to editing laptop, but certainly for if I'm traveling, if I'm doing presentations, or indeed if I just want something light so that I can sort of tether to as I'm shooting, that is in there too. So pretty much that is most of the things that are in my bag. It does vary, I do change it up occasionally, depending on what I'm shooting, but on a typical day this would be everything that's in my bag. So I go for my camera, my 3 lenses, 2 lights, a few accessories, and of course I take my modifiers for my lights externally. I carry those. All this goes in my backpack, carry those around, light stands in there, I'm good to go.
Thanks Hannah, that was great. Thanks for sharing all that with us, and we'll look forward to working with you again soon. Cheers.